What is going on, everybody? Bobby Fly here. Sheet should be here any second, so we'll have him. We're going to talk through a little bit of the NBA and then the NFL slate. I'm going to pull up my current stuff right now for NBA, and just give me a minute here, and we'll talk a little bit about what to do. The biggest thing that's happened today for me, because I was going to play 100% of them, is Şengün got downgraded to questionable. These are usually spots in the past where the guys tend to sit, and you don't really have any other options. So what you might do if you did want to take a chance with the Şengün thing, like I like that game anyway. I'd already be playing Looney. Let's say you play Van Vliet also, and then you have the spot for Şengün, and maybe you have one other spot that you use for Jabari Smith, and you can pivot over to something like Jae'Sean Tate if Şengün is out, and Steph Curry would be your option. But I just don't know if we need to make that play as much anymore. We are sort of starved for value, but there's plenty in the mid-range that at least we can feel, I don't want to say good about, but like okay about, I guess. Bridges, Hauser, Pritchard, Looney. These are all decent values to me, and so is Koulibaly. There's also a chance, excuse me, that, again, if Şengün sits, I think Jae'Sean Tate is actually an interesting play. It could be Jeff Green, but I think Jae'Sean Tate is more where you'd go. And either way, if you keep 4 or 5 guys in that last game, you can do a lot. Hey, Sheets. How's it going?
What's happening?
Not much. Just going through what I was saying was I felt the biggest news of the day, which is that Şengün is downgraded to questionable. And I was going to probably play 100% Şengün. I think that most of the time in these spots, the players end up sitting, and it does have me concerned. So I was saying that the 2 options are you could leave the Şengün stuff in, keep 4 guys from that game in, and you could always pivot to like from Şengün and Jabari Smith, which is I like, to like Tari Eason and Steph Curry or something, and still leave like Van Vliet and Looney in the lineup or something like that. But I think it's a big piece of news, and I think it also could potentially open up some Jae'Sean Tate value. Jeff Green might be a little bit thin, but that's something else you'd have the option at least to switch over to later in the day. And I actually think Jeff Green would stand out as being probably decent enough in this matchup. So yeah, really big piece of news. What it definitely does, I already like Jabari Smith and Fred Van Vliet. Those 2 guys are going to be in most of my lineups anyway. And if Şengün is out, they both get a huge boost. So that's mainly what I'm doing with that information. What are you finding?
So I just literally updated the projections like 2 seconds ago, and I'm looking at it for the first time. And the first thing I guess I noticed is that Derek White, I guess, is out, and Horford from Boston, which is why I'm getting Sam Hauser as like not like great value, but he's now part of that kind of fishy value pool, that I didn't have before. And then with no one else from Boston, though, is really looks like they've upgraded too much. I see also that Miles Bridges has become even not a better play, but just as far as my rankings go, with respect to value, there's not a hell of a lot. Now, you mentioning the Şengün he was downgraded, I guess, the question, like this is like hours ago.
Yeah, it was after we recorded, but yeah.
Yeah, no. Does it say anything, or is there just a Q next to it?
It says that he's questionable to play because of the back.
Because of his back. Okay, because it's funny, when I looked earlier in the DraftKings lineup, it didn't say anything. It was just a Q. Now it's just questionable to lower back contusion. Let's see. The second half of a back-to-back as well. So Jock Landale, Jeff Green, they're saying here to join the starting lineup. But again, that doesn't necessarily mean that's who you want to play. Yeah, it's an interesting question, right? Because it's a 10 o'clock game.
Right. So, yeah.
I'm inclined to play him for now.
If I played him, I would make sure I had at least 3 players from that game, which I think is fine because there's good enough.
Right. I mean, you can play Van Vliet.
Yeah, Van Vliet, Jabari Smith, and Looney.
Right. That's right.
Do you like Podziemski?
Right. I forgot about that. And do you like the any of the Boston stuff?
Yeah. So I know he's going to let us down sometime, and it's annoying to play chalky Sam Hauser, but I'm totally good with it. I'm going to probably just bite the bullet and do it. Peyton Pritchard, a little bit thinner, but I think is totally viable with no Derek White. You could argue that it's actually a better spot than Peyton Pritchard was in when Porzingis and Jaylen Brown sit, and Pritchard was getting owned a lot then. But when it's different when you take out one of the actual ball handlers, because that means he will be the true direct backup to Drew, and he will play some with Drew also. So I think it's a little bit of a better spot for him than it was when just Jaylen Brown and Porzingis were out. So those two are the ones that stood out to me. I think if you wanted to make another case for Boston, literally all of the guys are getting like very little ownership. Porzingis is a tremendous play. So is Jaylen Brown and Tatum. I didn't get to many of them in my builds, and I think Holiday is a good play as well. The other thing to keep in mind that's a little bit concerning about the Pritchard thing is they'll give Delano Banton some run, and it's just if he plays well enough, you might not see Pritchard as much. You might see him for the normal 18 minutes. So we may not get the boosted minutes for Pritchard that you think. And I'm not saying that Banton's going to play a ton or anything, but he plays 8 to 10 minutes, which is totally possible. It's just a little that's minutes probably without Pritchard and probably without Holiday, which means what minutes is Pritchard getting exactly?
I will say that the value side is getting really highly owned. Like I have a 35% ownership projection from Norman Powell. And a 30% ownership projection for Corey Kispert. It's like weird because in vacuums, I think those are probably pretty bad plays at those ownerships. But I guess the idea is that the way people are building, they have to get to somebody. And those are maybe the best of the given alternatives, I guess. I'm getting Hauser at 25% ownership. That sounds what he was going to be. But I'm only seeing 15% from that Koulibaly. And it looks as though Pud's missed. The Brandon P is not a secret either. I see him about 22% or so. I'm not sure what to do here.
I actually have a feeling Koulibaly might even be lower on than they're projecting because he and Sam Hauser are both only small forward eligible, which means you have to automatically lock up your forward spot. And there's a lot of good forward plays today, like Miles Bridges. Again, he has power forward eligibility, so does Jabari Smith. But if you want to play all four of those guys, boom, that's it. No more forwards for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
So it's a little bit of and then even if you have a unique-ish build or whatever, anybody who has there's going to be people who have that exact four combination. You know what I mean? It's just something to keep in mind. I really think that the Jabbar. I mean, look, I think the Houston thing. I think that it's the speculation on Jashawn Tate. I kept saying Tari Eason. I meant Jashawn Tate before.
Well, yeah, because I did that earlier.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. But what's weird is I do it with those guys all the time. And when KJ Martin was there, I did it with him as well. I don't know what it is. It's these switchable forwards that they have that all remind me of each other. But with the back-to-back, it could be Tate, it could be Green. They may start Londale, but you wouldn't think that against Golden State they would start Londale just because Golden State doesn't need to play truly big. Even Looney is, it's not like you need to have a guy out there to guard Looney. Jabari Smith can do it. So I think that they would probably start Jeff Green, maybe Jashawn Tate, and it wouldn't even shock me if they did something weird and started Aaron Holiday or something. They could just do it. They have a lot of different options, and they've got a fairly deep roster. I don't think we're going to get the Boban minutes, unfortunately. That would be fun.
Are you playing? Are you thinking of playing Jokic in your big buy-in or no?
So I wasn't going to, and then when I started reworking things, especially if I pretend Şengün is out, I can do it pretty really easily because then I feel comfortable with taking a shot on Jashawn Tate a little bit anyway. And just with the possibility of Şengün being gone, I just think that's just another boost to Tate. I know it's weird because they're different positions, but they really don't need to play a true big against Golden State if they don't want to. However, they may totally choose to. We haven't seen the situation come up yet, so it's hard to know. The answer to K9's question is, what's a better play, Tate or Jeff Green on FanDuel? I can't answer those questions right now. I don't know who's starting. I don't know if Şengün's playing. If Şengün's playing, I'm not interested in either of them. But Tate is playable-ish because we already have no Eason. But I don't know how to answer that question right now. like, but I mean, usually the answer is going to be Tate because they're not going to like overwhelm Jeff Green with minutes. You wouldn't think, but you have a different type of coach there, so he may very well decide to do that. So I don't know. I have a very it's really hard to know with having no idea who they're going to possibly start, what to do. And yeah, so that's I really don't know how to answer that question at this hour. I'm going to say what's up to everybody. Please click the like button and all that. I'm happy to try to answer anything I can, but I can't answer I mean, I'm guessing that the question is if Şengün is out, who's a better play? But again, I would need to see a starting lineup, which we won't have for 3.5 hours. So I really don't know how to answer that one.
Harden, it looks like a really cheap on FanDuel. He's 7,200.
Yeah, he's not my FanDuel builds. I was going to play him on DraftKings too, but I decided not to. I actually think Kawhi is in play over there too. I like Norman Powell, by the way, tonight. I know that he's going to have some ownership, but I think he's another viable source of value. Sort of fits in more what the Clippers want to do. A little less Russ minutes, a few more Powell minutes. I think you're going to see more of that going forward. Yeah. And I love, as I mentioned, I like Wemby and Zach Collins. I like playing both those guys on FanDuel. The Clippers have been sloppy. You get some steals and blocks out of those guys, and they can just rack up. I mean, they could each score 50 tonight. It wouldn't totally shock me. Scott McCarty asking about the KCP mid-range value on DK. Not a great point projection, but decent minutes. He's going to always have great minutes projections. And it is, whatever it's worth, like KCP has the heat check in him. And I think he's totally like a legitimate play. Now, do I love him at high ownership? He's going to be high owned on FanDuel. I don't think he's going to end up especially high owned on DraftKings. I think he might, maybe 5 or 6% or something, but I think it's fine. I'm not going out of my way to try to do it, but if I ended up with KCP, I would have no problem with it. No problem, K9. I just was trying to explain. It's hard to answer, that specific one this early in the day. The guys who I'm prioritizing anyway, like I do have Bridges like in everything on DraftKings. I have Hauser in most of my lineups. I have some Pritchard. I did end up so I had a 2v2. Like I could play LaMelo Ball and Şengün as part of that late stack, or I could switch it over and play a guy who I really didn't want to play, Mike Conley, and instead. So I was deciding between those two. I don't know what I'm going to do to be completely honest with you on that one. Hello to Clint. Hello to everybody in chat. Good to see you guys all in here. We can keep talking through some of this and then maybe even jump into a little NFL if you want to.
Yeah, I'm waiting to just make sure there's no inactives from, especially those cheapos from Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Make sure those guys.
Is there any questionables? I didn't see any questionable guys, but
not questionables. But I mean, I get just.
Yeah.
Just maybe make Alberto inactive or something. You know what I mean? Just something. I don't know.
Sure. I'm curious
They
about
did
that.
They did that with Rashad Penny a few weeks ago for no reason. So I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
Somebody else.
That's true. It's actually yeah. I mean, so back to basketball real quick. So like again, the priority plays for me are like not all that different than before, with the exception of the Şengün thing. And I think it makes a big enough difference where I think if you just wanted to play Van Vliet and Jabari Smith, that's probably the easiest way to go. But I like the idea of speculating on the on Jae'Sean Tate.
Yeah, and again, I want to play that guy. Well, again, it's more of a gut play than anything else. He is going to get some ownership now. I didn't think he'd be his own, but that Brandon guy I want to play for
Podziemski.
Yeah.
I mean, I certainly have no issues with that one. Again, I still like the last game. I mean, especially you tell me Şengün's out, great. Let's load up on the whole game and play everybody else.
Yeah, I think, but you made a point. I mean, like these situations. I mean, there's a decent chance that he's out. I mean,
yeah. I think that you stack the game though without him, and look, it's not like the stack without him can't get there also. And even if he plays with the announced questionable, with the back-to-back, it just seems like you wouldn't assume that they're going to just run him out there for 1 million minutes.
right.
I don't know. He played only 30 yesterday, for what it's worth. Only 30, but still. Yeah, I think that it will be a lot of small ball played, as Clinton's pointing out, if he's out. I don't see why they would go big without having to, unless they just really want to get Jock Landale some run. And even the game Şengün sat earlier in the year, I don't think, I mean, still, we haven't had a game better than 15 points from Jock Landale this season. Of course, if he starts, you probably want to play him. But I don't know. I'm having a hard time with it because I really was excited to just load up the Şengün, Van Vliet, run it back with Looney and potentially Steph Curry, or Podziemski, I guess. But yeah, it's just hard to know what to do with that news being so much later.
What are you doing with the Kispert?
Nothing. Yeah. We know what this play is. It's the first game of the night, or one of the release late games.
Yeah.
They are giving him so many minutes that it's like hard to ignore. There's still not a slate he's played where it's like you're gonna. I mean, look, but I would take 20 fantasy points from a 3,800 guy. But is that better than what Tari Eason's going to be projecting at if he ends up not even starting? If just having, I mean, it's usage that goes out. It's rebounds that go out of the way without Şengün. They might play small and use Deshaun Tate as sort of like a pseudo 4-5 kind of hybrid type of thing. I think that's probably worth gambling on. The only thing that's a little tough with the Tate minutes to try to figure out in general this year is like even before, it's not like he was getting like a ton of run. He was getting more run when there was no, this time I'm saying it the right way, when there was no Tari Eason. So if you said before the day, like last minute, Tari Eason is going to be announced out and Şengün's going to be announced out, but you can make the switch right now, I'm pretty sure he would project to be like the best point per dollar play on the slate, or right there.
Right.
I mean, he's already right up there, right? Like, especially on FanDuel. He's 3,900 on FanDuel.
Which guy?
Deshaun Tate.
No, he is already on FanDuel. You're right.
Yeah. And in 4,100 on DraftKings, it shouldn't really be all that different. Like, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He is a little bit of a better, historically a pretty good steals blocks guy. So he does play, lend himself better to FanDuel scoring. For those of you guys who are here, we don't have a live show as of right now for tomorrow. So we're going to try to figure out, I'm trying to see if I can get Rody to do it. I got to give Rody a call and get him to confirm or not. But just giving a heads up, it's always a little tough Thanksgiving week. We are going to be covering the big slate on Wednesday. We'll obviously be we'll do a football show tomorrow. And we'll have everything ready for the Thursday NFL slate too. I wish it was 4 games. I don't like that it's only 3 this year.
What? The
Thanksgiving
football?
Yeah.
It was 4 last year?
Yeah, they started making it 4 for a few of the years. They had what did they do? No, maybe they didn't. Maybe they only made it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there was only 1 year that they made it 4. It might have been a pandemic thing.
Yeah. You like Mark Williams at all?
Yeah. Yeah, I always liked the little Mark Williams.
Fair enough.
I mean, I do. It's kind of aggravating sometimes because they do limit his minutes occasionally. He's not like he's super cheap, but he's really good. And I mean, again, I don't like the matchup in general, although directly he and Porzingis, that seems like a good rebounding spot and putbacks and whatnot, but I don't know.
Did you comment on the other guy from Houston, the Jalen Green?
I think they made it 4 for that 1 year. I got to double check this thing. I'm sorry. What did you say that, Sheets?
Comment on Jalen Green at all?
Yeah, I do have some Jalen Green. I really like, especially now speculating that Şengün is going to be out. Like everybody should get a pretty huge boost.
Right.
So Van Vliet, Green. My favorites would be Van Vliet, Jabari, then Jalen Green. Oh, I guess Deshaun Tate, then Jalen Green, but just because of the value side of things.
Jokic 11%. That's not a thing, right?
It might be a thing. It might be harder to get to him I mean, you can get to him, but like it's not like the rest of your build is going to make like perfect sense because like I don't know, like you're playing Van Vliet, probably Jabari, and then you're finding the Hauser value, maybe the Bridges, and then Koulibaly. It's pretty thin. The other one that we talked about that you could speculate on, we still don't officially have news on Kevin Huerter.
Right.
And if he's out, and even this Sasha Vezinkev or whatever they play sometimes, Chris Duarte definitely has a chance to play. Well, we'll see. You know what I mean? I don't think they have to play him, but he did play 32 minutes. So
what about the Malik Beasley play? You still like that at all?
I think it's really it's probably a little bit reachy, but I think it's probably worth this is the matchup you want to do that with, right? Wouldn't it be it would not be the least bit surprising if Malik Beasley scored 30 real life points tonight. So yes, I guess I do like it.
I wonder if I can go back to if Butler's still the same idea.
Yeah, I'm good with that too. I just didn't I got my builds a little different because I was stacking up the later game, but now I'm going to have some room to do some of that. And I think Jimmy Butler is a terrific low-owned play. I think he's going to have a little bit of ownership. The low-owned one, though, that this is what I love about Anthony Edwards, because he's not always he's going to have 30 fantasy point games and 60 fantasy point games. He's just never going to project probably quite as well as he should. His upside, I only want him the 30% of the time when he's getting me 50 or more, right? So right. I don't really have to care that much that there's a chance that he only gets me 30 something. So I would embrace that and maybe consider some Edwards or Towns. Those are the guys I have in the Jimmy Butler range. Bam. All those guys I think are pretty solid. Scott's asking, is Reggie Jackson too thin for tonight's slate at his price? Are there better plays in his range? I don't think he's too thin.
Yeah.
And you get the little revenge going back to Detroit. Reggie Jackson is the kind of guy where it just feels like that he could take a few extra shots because of it,
Right.
And then he probably gets pulled from the game. And you're wondering why you played him.
What's Pritchard's price? Pritchard is
4.
Yeah.
Yeah. If Herter's out again, I don't mind if you play Duarte if he starts. I still think if he doesn't start, even if he does start, there's still a chance he plays 16 minutes. Just throwing it out there. But the projections would skyrocket and they would love me probably even out to a 22 or whatever average at 3,100. And it's probably a guy who he would get played at such a high rate if it was announced before regular lock that I don't know that I would necessarily want to. I don't know. I would have to think about it because he might be 70% owned at a guy who literally might play 15 minutes. But if he's going to be anywhere below 30% owned, I think you should probably lock him in if he starts.
You mentioned Mike Conley, maybe?
It's just that I kept ending up at sort of in that range between he, Jackson, and those were in lines. I was already playing Jokic, so I didn't feel like going for Jackson also. And I don't know. But it's not like a play that it's not usually the right thing to do on 8-game slates to play a guy like Mike Conley at 5K even. He just doesn't put up those ceiling games almost ever. Not a good matchup either. But if I ended up stuck with him, I would have no problem with it. He probably has 25 fantasy points and 5X, whatever his price. Maybe you get lucky he gets to 30.
Yeah, I'm currently not going to play Jokic in the big buy-in, just so you know.
My big buy-in is definitely going to change because it's got Şengün in it, but the rest of it looks pretty good to me, I gotta say.
Are you hoping that Şengün plays, given the way your lineup is, or he doesn't play?
Well, they all have Şengün in them right now on DraftKings.
Right.
So they're all going to be edited and they'll be left in the smaller buy-ins. I'm talking myself into that I don't think he plays.
Okay.
And that even if he does, that there's something going on there. Yeah, so the Jose Alvarado thing, just to touch on that one real quick. He is officially questionable, right? This doesn't played yet. I don't think they're going to let him play more than 18 minutes his first game back out. But, it certainly is possible. And if he's available to go, they may actually just start him, which they don't usually do. But they also don't have McCollum right now. So... yeah, if Jose Alvarado is a go, I don't mind taking a shot at him, but I also wouldn't be surprised if he played 10 minutes. I don't know. It's weird with a guy like that. He's such a high-energy guy. It's hard to imagine overly limiting, but it's a pretty serious time that he's been gone. Anyway.
What's Miles Bridges? He's Oh, he's power forward or small forward. Okay, good.
Yeah. Real quickly, because I have to go a little bit early, but a family thing a little bit. I'm just going to touch on a couple of the football stuff. Favorite captains, Devontae Smith, and again, it's ownership somewhat based. I like Kelsey, but I probably it's hard for me, like ownership wise, to want to do it. But I'm going to probably stick with one Kelsey and one of my two big buy-ins. I have some DeAndre Swift and some really of the cheap guys. I think you could take a shot with the Calcaterra or the Oka, whatever, and just sort of like fill out the rest of the lineup with all the studs that you want to play. I also think that Zacchaeus is he's been good to me in showdowns before. I'm going to go back to the Zacchaeus a little bit.
Yeah, I think that for kind of, I would say lower risk, but for actually for solid tournaments or whatever, I think that your Devontae Smith captain is really sharp. Actually, I mean he's probably going to be like only like 10% in the captain.
I think it's going to be like 4 or 5%.
Whatever, he's going to be really low owned because of his price. He's not much cheaper than AJ Brown, and AJ Brown's going to be probably 3 times his own in the captain as what's his name, as Devontae Smith. And not only that, but I mean, listen, I did a lot of research on the Goddard thing. And one way this could go, right, is that Goddard just gets replaced by these tight ends or whatever. But the other is just more stuff for the wide receivers, and that can go one of two ways. Also, you could either have like this combination of Zacchaeus and Julio Jones, right, getting like more of that stuff. But apparently, the last time this happened, where Goddard was out, but basically the residuals went to Devontae Smith.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of down with that, because even if that's not the narrative, he's a good play anyway,
Right.
So I kind of like the Devontae Smith and the captain idea quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about it too.
What do you think of the game, by the way?
I like the Eagles a lot. I bet the Eagles outright to win. I bet them to +3. And
you got 3.
Yeah, that's what the spread is. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was 2.5. Okay.
It may have it's gone back and forth, but I got 3 on when I got it.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
And do you like it? Do you have any thoughts on the weather or like defensive kickers and stuff? Or
so where I was able to bet the under, it was 48, and now it's 45.5. So I thought that was at least a good in terms of closing line value. Because you know what I mean. Back to the closing line value conversation.
Yeah, but it's I don't know how much. Despite the fact that defenses have been doing really well in showdown, I don't know how many people are really going to go for the kicker defense thing tonight with all these skill players. Could be not the worst idea. Remember, considering the Kansas City receivers, like there are like 7 of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are like 7 of them, and unless one of them gets like 2 touchdowns or something like that, or even I don't know, like these defenses and kickers, but they have like the kicker. I mean, Butker's got a floor. You know what I mean? Like as does Elliott. These are 2 actually good kickers too. So it's not like taking some scrub kicker who's going to miss when you need him. You know what I mean? Like these guys are going to make their stuff. So I don't know. Maybe I should, that currently that's where I'm kind of under where I'm thinking of upping is the kickers and defenses part.
Yeah, I didn't get to it much today, but I totally understand it. I'd rather, I guess, play the thin other stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I really.
I'll tell you my. If anybody wants it, my Josh Oliver play of the day or whatever.
Oh yeah, let's hear it.
The one that's going to be like maybe like 4 or 5% owned that I'm going to have just way too much of. It's actually quite fitting, but I think I'm going to just take a gamble and just get too much of Kadarius Toney. He gets like no action anymore, and he's like too expensive. Like perfect combination. Like maybe small, but we're slow. So I'm going to probably take a shot with him. May as well gamble on one of these freaking receivers. So for me, it's going to be that one. And if he does something, I don't think anything, but I don't think he's going to be more than 10%.
No, he's not like super cheap. He's like the most expensive of the receivers. He gets the least amount of the work. So,
Exactly.
So I actually kind of like that thinking. I went for a different guy. I went for the guy who actually has been productive. I have a lot of the Noah Gray.
I like that too. I like that because like it's funny. One of these guys who actually do respect. I mean, they and we talked about this last week. Whenever you're like on a bye week, it's possible that some coaches like to like change things up a little bit when they have like 2 weeks to deal with it. And I don't know, you have these 7 receivers from Kansas City, and if people are going to chase the guys who have been doing the best recently, I think that's really the wrong idea coming off the bye. So, and I'll tell you another guy, by the way, you want another guy who's like just an awful play, who might get literally 0 snaps, but maybe Clyde Edwards-Helaire gets in there. I know people are going to play McKinnon probably, but I don't know. I mean, Hilaire's not completely washed.
No.
So he's kind of a dart throw. The Noah Gray, I like that, by the way. That's a good one. And then the Kadarius Toney. On the Philadelphia side, I'm gonna end up he's probably gonna end up being, I don't want to say chalk, but chalky at least. If I'm gonna take one of the tight ends, I think I'm gonna take the young kid. Whatever his name, not Carcraft, whatever his name is.
No,
the younger one. No, the other one. The good.
Calcaterra.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying. I think you said not the Calcaterra.
No, Calcaterra is probably going to be the chalkier for them, but that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like actually like him and the Alberto actually kind of profile as receivers, sort of. Like Stoll's like more of a blocker, so I'm kind of hoping that one of those guys is inactive somehow, because I'll play the other one, I think. But I think that what you could do. You could probably go Devontae Smith. Because again, it's either going to be Devontae Smith getting the work or one of those tight ends. You like Julio tonight at all?
I think it's okay. You know what I mean? I actually like Zacchaeus better. He's cheaper. Okay. He gets more work, more familiar with the offense. I think that look, it is what it is. It's a big game for both teams. The MVP favorite at the end of the day will be whichever one of these quarterback wins the game tonight. And you mentioned you'll be in the driver's seat for the 1 seed and all that stuff. And you're playing the Super Bowl over again. Like
I know the other one. And the other one I would take a shot at again, just trying to find other guys besides tight ends to get these short passes, whatever. I'll play some Kenneth Gainwell also.
Love Gainwell, yeah. Gainwell is actually, for a minute, because he's cheap enough, I was actually flirting with the idea of using him in the captain.
Okay.
Just because it allowed me to get I could get the 4 studs and with the 1 spend down if I played it. You know what I mean? In the captain. And just no one's gonna. I don't expect he gets 0.5% ownership in captain, and we've also seen him break. He have some decent games. He's actually been a really consistent performer. That's this is why I like the Toney idea. You're gonna tell me this guy every game gets 5 fantasy points to 10 fantasy points, Gainwell, and he gets real work, and he's basically the same price as Toney, who hasn't caught more than a catch since like week 2.
No, exactly.
So no one's going to play Toney. So I kind of like that idea too. I made a note because if Toney wins you all the money and I don't have like a little piece of it.
Yeah, considering all that I've trashed him over the last 2 years.
I know, and I'm always the one trying to make him a thing, and you're always trashing him.
Yeah. But they'll run something for somebody. You know what I mean? It's like the Cole Hardman thing. Like if Toney comes into the game, it's because they're actually going to try to get him the ball. You know what I mean? So he's going to be like if he gets 10 snaps. He might get like 7. He might get like 5 targets.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
100%. That's totally true.
We'll see, or maybe an end around or something.
Yeah. I think it will be a good Island game today. I think this is you can't get a better game than this. These are the every year favorites and the defending Super Bowl matchup. This is a great game.
You know anything about Vietnam, Bob? You ever travel there or no?
I actually have been to Vietnam, but only briefly, and I was like 12.
Okay.
Why?
No, Ash is going there for a little bit. So
awesome.
Yeah. She's going back to Singapore. How many people go to Singapore like twice in 3 years?
I know. I love Singapore my whole life.
Singapore's awesome.
I think it's great, yeah. You know what I really liked? I had a great time when I was younger, though, was Bangkok.
Oh, really? I've never been to Thailand.
Bangkok.
Never been to Thailand.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. But I'm probably going to jet in a minute because I'm going to finish my build. And I did update in the premium NBA and NFL, sort of where I'm at with both my stuff.
Yeah. So just everybody as a reminder. So tomorrow we'll do recording, and then neither of us are going to be around for live, and hopefully we'll get some coverage there. Wednesday we're going to do a football show for the Thanksgiving slate, and we're also going to do an NBA show. An NBA preview at 12. And then we'll go live. I know I'll be around to go live for the NBA thing also. Maybe I'll also double that as like a lineup build thing for this Thanksgiving slate. I don't know when I'm going to be around to do an NFL, the main slate stuff before Sunday. If we could squeeze one in Friday, I could do that then. And that's all I can promise. But that's got a lot going on.
Yeah, it sounds. I think Friday I could do. I should be able to make that work.
Great, and we'll be talking about how you won all the NBA and NFL money Wednesday and Thursday. So
on Wednesday and Thursday. I hope so, man. I hope so. All right, buddy. Well, have a good night. Good luck to everybody, and see you guys in the Discord.
Yeah, watch for that Sengun news.